So today we're going to talk about a minor thing you can do to majorly affect your country playing. If you have even a minor interest in country guitar, watch this video. Country guitar derives a lot of its sound from mixing the major and the minor pentatonics. Most country songs are in major keys, even the sad ones, surprisingly. Like if we think about the saddest song ever recorded, He Stopped Loving Her Today by George Jones. That song is in a major key. So obviously we're going to be able to use the major pentatonic to solo over these songs. They're in major keys. But country also derives a lot of its feel and a lot of its roots from early blues. And as we all know, the blues loves the minor pentatonic. So we can throw in the minor pentatonic, mix it with the major pentatonic, and it's kind of gotten us to where country guitar is today. So learning how to mix the two can be a challenging concept at first, and it can kind of sound forced if you don't know how to integrate them back and forth. It can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be. So today I'm going to show you just a few ways that I think about mixing the two, and I'm going to show you some actual licks that I use, the transition between the two. Thanks for checking this out. Let's get right into it. So this lesson is going to be on actual licks you can use to transition. But before we get into that, I do want to just touch briefly on some tweaks we can make to the major and minor pentatonic. And these will allow us to just add a little bit more flavor, a little more texture, variety, if you will, to the pentatonic scales, and will ultimately help us to sound a little bit more country. So let's just do a quick refresher on the pentatonic shapes. Hopefully we're all familiar with the minor pentatonic shape. I'm doing this all in the key of A, so we're starting on that 5th fret. If you know that shape, but you're not yet comfortable soloing with the major pentatonic, all we're going to do is we're going to shift this down 3 frets. So 1, 2, 3. So our pointer finger is now going to be on that 2nd fret, on that F sharp. And I'm going to play the exact same pattern. So in that shape actually is the A major pentatonic. It's the exact same pattern, just shifted down 3 frets. So today's lesson is basically going to be covering how we can move back and forth between these two shapes. Obviously today we're going to be doing it in the key of A, but this will apply regardless of what key you're soloing in. You can just use these licks and these patterns to go back and forth. So we'll keep going with just the minor pentatonic. Before we get into actual licks, I want to talk about some notes we can add to the minor pentatonic to kind of spice it up, because the point of this is ultimately to sound like we're playing country guitar. So if we can add notes within our scales that sound really good, obviously let's take advantage of that. So the first thing I'm going to do to change the minor pentatonic is I'm going to add the flat 5 and make it what we call the blues scale. So that's going to sound like this. So I'm adding this note here and this note here. And those aren't in either the major or the minor pentatonic when we're playing in the key of A, but it sounds really good. That's why it's called the blues scale, is adding that flat 5. So definitely a note that we can use within country guitar, so let's keep that. And then the other thing I want to add to this minor shape is I want to add the major 3rd, and I really can't emphasize enough, as you're practicing minor pentatonics, if you're even within blues, but certainly within country, work on adding in that major 3rd. So that minor 3rd to major 3rd. We're going from a C natural to a C sharp. And that's how we get that country sound. So if we're thinking of that within the context of this scale, we're going to keep the blues note. And one thing to note here, on the way up we can play them all ascending. But on the way down, on the way down, we always hit the minor third and then come back up to the major third. And you can do it down here too. So just by adding those two notes, we've already really increased the versatility of that minor shape. So let's think about applying those to the major shape. We can basically apply the exact same pattern to the major pentatonic shape, but note that the notes we are adding are going to be different in relation to our root, which is A. So in the blues scale, in the minor pentatonic, right, we're adding that flat 5. We're adding this note. So this note here that we're adding is going to be different in relation to the A. So and this actually becomes, by adding that note, we're adding in a minor third to the A major pentatonic, which we've already talked about the minor to major third interval up here. We've already talked about that, how that sounds good. So obviously we can add that to our major pentatonic shape and roll with this. One thing to note too, as I'm playing this major shape, I talked about moving it down the 3 frets to starting on our F sharp here. I still like to think about starting from our root. So I'm actually starting with my pinky on the 5th fret on the A here. And that way the tonal center, that A, is still kind of in my brain as the starting point, even though I am playing that minor pentatonic shape. So you'll see me do that as we go through this. I'm starting with my pinky on that A as I'm playing this in the major pentatonic. So the other note that we added was the flat third up here within that shape, right? We had the minor pentatonic, add the blue note, or add the blue note, and then we added this note in relation, which we determined was the minor third. If we do that within the major shape, you're getting that minor second, which if you're really intentional, you can use it, but it kind of clashes with the key. So let's stay away from that. To recap, within the minor shape, we can play obviously the minor pentatonic, add the blues scale, and add that minor third to major third. When we're improvising or soloing or playing in the major shape, we can add the blues scale, which in this case is adding that minor third again. But we're going to stay away from that minor second. So now that we've quote revamped these scales, we need to obviously learn how to integrate these, how to make them sound good within the context of a song. So the problem can come in when we try to just jump back and forth between major and minor. It can sound a little bit disjointed or a little bit forced. Like it doesn't always seem natural to go back and forth between the two. And this can be because a lot of times you're playing over a major key, and if you're not intentional with it, adding in that minor pentatonic can just clash a little bit. So these licks that I'm about to show you, they work going both directions, meaning if you're starting in major and you want to jump to the minor, or if you're playing over minor and want to jump to the major, these licks will work both ways for that. So let's get right into that first lick. So this first lick is super simple. We're just doing a unison bend. I'm just bending up a whole note and then hitting the same note on the next string up. I'm getting kind of that country snap because I'm using my middle finger to pluck that B string. So I'm using a pick. And you can do it that simple. Like we're improvising in A major. Right? And just like that, we transition to minor pentatonic, and then we can improvise in the minor shape. This lick can cover a lot of ground. You can do it just kind of like I showed you, or you can hang out on it a little bit longer. I'm coming down, instead of coming down a whole step like I did here, I'm actually coming down, after I release that bend, I'm coming down just to that major third. But within the context of soloing, you could absolutely come down to that minor third as well. So let's just throw this over an A backing track, and I'll show you kind of how it would sound in context. If you're a little bit more advanced and you want to use this lick with even a little bit more country flavor, you can do the lick and then end up on that dominant 7 there. So the second lick is just going to kind of build off of the same pattern that we started with for the first lick, but we're going to kind of take it to the next level. So we'll start in the minor shape this time, and then transition down to the major shape. So I'm going to start with that same bend, up a whole note, but instead of just doing a unison bend, I'm going to play that very famous country lick. And then I'm going to move down to the major shape and do the exact same pattern. And then obviously we can start major and move it up to minor. So if you're soloing, you're improvising in the major shape, right? We get to a spot where we want to transition, we can throw that in. If I could play it right. And we continue soloing then in the minor key. So let's throw this one in over the backing track again, and let's hear how this one would sound in context. So something I just want to emphasize, these licks are obviously not just meant to be repeated over and over. This is all designed so that you can be soloing, you can be improvising on your own within a major key or within a minor shape, I guess. We should be thinking major key, but you can be soloing, you can be improvising within either the major shape or the minor shape, and then use these licks to transition seamlessly. When we start learning guitar, we learn these scales, so our fingers kind of naturally follow these patterns. So this is designed to help us seamlessly move from one pattern to the next. All right, let's do lick 3. Hopefully by this point you guys are getting the idea of how this all works. So lick 3, we will start in, we'll do A major, and then we'll move this one up to minor. So all I'm doing here, 2, 3, 4, 2nd fret here on the A string. Once again, I'm doing the exact same shapes. You only got to learn it once. And once again, too, I'm using my middle finger to give that plucking, the kind of that heavy attack sound. But if you wanted to, you could use your pick as well. We can use this both directions. We've obviously covered that already. Let's throw on the backing track again and see how this one sounds in context. So this fourth lick is one of my favorites. I use it all the time. It's actually just a one-directional lick, meaning we're only going to use it to go from minor to major. But it sounds great. It is a little bit more advanced. It's going to take a little bit to get it under your fingers, but sounds killer. Like I said, I use it all the time. This one's using notes, obviously, from the minor pentatonic, major pentatonic still, but we're also adding in an element of chromaticism, which you'll see. And all that means is we're basically playing notes one right after the other, all in a line, versus jumping in intervals like we would within a scale. So let's take a listen. So the lick sounds something like this. And again. So slowly. And then since we're in A, I'm hitting that open A string, which isn't in the shapes that we've talked about, but you could also hit it down here on that low E string if you're playing this in, right, say we're playing this in E. So like I said, this one's kind of a handful. It can take a little work to get it under the fingers, but definitely worth learning. Let's throw on that backing track and see how it sounds in context. So now that we've learned all four of these licks, let's throw on that backing track again, and let's try to throw them all in. I will basically just be going back and forth between major and minor, doing a little bit of improvising in between, then hitting the lick to jump to the other pattern, whether I'm in major or minor, obviously going back and forth there. Hopefully that will kind of help cement or solidify how these are all supposed to sound like in context. So yeah, let's roll it. I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video. I've been kind of at work on these YouTube videos for a little bit of time now, and people are actually watching them and finding them useful and enjoying them, and it's nuts to me that people would take the time to watch these videos I'm making. So like I said, I appreciate anyone watching these, leaving comments, subscribing, any of that stuff. It's definitely doesn't go unnoticed. I am very grateful for that. Thank you so much for checking this video out, and stay tuned because I have a lot more stuff like this that I'm hoping on getting out in the near future. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys are having a great day, and we will see you in the next video.